So I just, play it low key. I'm in the studios of Kong, monsterrock.net, and also a couple other stations, rdsn.net, on the 24th floor of the Buddha Man Towers, ladies and gentlemen. At 5:15, excuse me, I can get my throat spray. A sip of Perrier with the grapefruit. Absolutely wonderful. No sugar. You don't need that shit in your body. Hey, but I found this great band, or he found me, and it's going to be a lot of fun. His name is Earl Kayoss, Kayoss, and he's in this incredible band with so much music, he can't stop listening. I don't get that a lot. I've interviewed a lot of people on Musician's Corner and on all my other shows over the years. And, I see maybe 10 songs. Over here, there's like 80. No, in total, there's like a lot to listen to, and I just love it. So I picked the song off this album. I think it's a volume 2. I'm not sure. We'll get to know what's going on with this, all right? He's out there in New York. And we're going to talk to him in about 15 minutes. And the sound like Porky Pig, man. And the album is called The Resurrection of Ants. So I want to stress that, and I want you to know that that he got me right away. I mean, with the music, with the artwork on his website called over700songs.com. I'm serious, man. So I get to the website, and there he is in a video, which I thought was really cool. And then you scroll down, there's a Salvador Dali picture. Salvador Dali, to me, is my art god, okay? And then I go over to, where you can scroll, peek around the website. And I went down, and there's lightning on all of them. And it's Salvador Dali's melting clock. And there's a couple of spiders above there that are just there to be there. I like it. I think it's really cool. So the album is extraordinarily good. I really like it a lot. It's rare that in this day and age that I get to hear this kind of stuff, because everybody's trying to be everybody else and copy everybody else, or it sounds like everybody else. I'm talking about commercially and the cookie cutter music industry. Ha ha. So I'm going to play a cut off the album, The Resurrection of Ants, which is just this great. Wow, that's a great name. And The Life on Mars, of course, is a ode to our the long lost David Bowie, lost to us last year. That was a big one for a lot of people, including me. So it's good to find a band who actually are the name of the band and of Life on Mars, and they do this incredible music as well. I want to play a cut off the album before we get, and we're going to play another one after the interview while we're on Spearman. So I want to play this one. This one's called Technology, and it has the sound of a cello and children on it. It is absolutely stunning, and this is from The Resurrection of Ants from Life on Mars right here on the International Experience, and we're just floating right through to Musician's Corner. Blast off, baby.
We have
I'm wondering what to do myself, okay? So I'm live here, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to make it available. I love saying it. Hey, I'm available. This is we're just kind of going and slipping right into Musician's Corner tonight on a gorgeous Thursday afternoon, late in the evening here. And okay, we just put it up for grabs, and we're going to talk to Earl right now. And I'm going to turn on his mic because he has his own special mic, and here it is. The good one. Good afternoon, Earl.
Alan, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. Let me adjust your mic here. So, hey, would you mind? You know, I really like the album. I want to tell you straight out. You know, I think it's.
Thanks so much.
It's a great album. So, would you mind if I introduced you and gave you a little mini review? And don't worry, it's a really good one. So let me.
Go for it.
Yeah, man. Okay. I'd like to welcome Earl Kayoss from New York City. Earl is in a band called Life on Mars. Of course, you think of Bowie when you think of that, but after you listen to the album, you're going to think of Earl, which I listened to the entire album today, and it's really good. Crying Time was reminiscent of the solo albums from George Harrison in the early days with a kick-ass guitar solo right there in the middle. Really well done, man. Then you had the very upbeat sound of a couple of other songs that I was listening to on there. My favorite song on the album, I just played it, is Technology. It's that beautiful, I'll ask you in a minute who was singing, and that beautiful cello. I mean, when do you get to hear that?
Yeah.
It's just great, man. Any good song with a haunting beauty of a cello is cool for me, man, and that stood out. So good to have such great talent on the Musician's Corner tonight, and I want to welcome you, man.
Thanks so much, Alan. You know, it's funny what you said about that song "Crying Time" and George Harrison, because the first thing that my bandmate Fernando Perdomo said to me when I showed him the song, you know, to let him see what it was, he goes, "Dude, this sounds like something that could have been on George Harrison's whole thing must pay." You know, so when you just mentioned George Harrison in relation to that song, it was nice for me to hear again, because I'm just a tremendous George Harrison fan, you know, and David Bowie, as you know, Life on Mars, that's where we got the band name from his song.
Yeah, well, you know, I could hear it in the music, and I could just, you know, hear the dedication that you have for it. So, you know, it's a good selection of songs. And I also was talking about that you have a lot of songs, and it's very prolific. Yeah, I like that. How do you?
Over 700 songs.
Say that again.
Then I stopped counting.
You're breaking up a little, Earl.
700 songs, and then oh my, can you hear me better now?
Maybe move to the right. I don't know. If you know how cell phones are very, very temperamental. They're supposed to be great technology. Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
How is it now?
Oh, it's perfect, man. Perfect. So what were we dwelling on there? We were talking about your website.
Yeah, the website, over700songs.com.
Yeah.
There's a lot of information on there about the band and songs and stuff. And if you want to check out the band, Life on Mars, you know, there's plenty of ways to do it. We got a Facebook page dedicated to the band. That's facebook.com// Life on Mars, the band. We've got a ton of videos up on YouTube.
Yeah, I've seen some of them.
And it's... so you know, it's easy to find us, but we've been working hard and trying to do good albums. The album that you just mentioned, The Resurrection of Ants, that's our second album.
Yeah,
it's a new release.
Really good.
It was just released in April.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, man.
And the song you mentioned, Technology, that's like my favorite song on the album too. You know, people seem to like that one.
Yeah,
and that's Rudy Celli on vocals. It's RUTI.
Just beautiful, man. What do you tell her? Wow! You say the Buddha man gives her I have 3 arms, 3 thumbs up.
I will tell her, and she might actually be listening right now. So I'm sure she'll be happy to hear that.
Hey, let me tell you something
Go ahead.
before you get to the next, because it's right here in front of me. I don't want to, because I have all your, like a bunch of stuff from you in front of me. And I was on your website, and the first thing I noticed, there were very kind of similar syncing up of minds today, from one coast to the other. Yeah, I was looking at Salvador. I have a book of Salvador Dali upstairs, and I was looking at it this morning, and I didn't know you had that on your website. And I went there and I went, "Fuck, man!" I mean, I am the biggest fanatic for his work. And then I went down. Yeah, I could tell you put the melting clocks with the lightning and I think it caught my attention and my intellect to stare at that guy in the earth. I think that's how the earth feels right now. You know, kind of like,
I think so too.
You'd say Dali was a prophet. I always believed he was crazy and out of his mind, but you know, I know a lot about him. Did you know he was a big part of the psychedelic era down there with Pink Floyd when they were first starting out?
I didn't have too much insight into that he was with Floyd, but I knew that he was, you know, pretty avant-garde, and he was, you know, doing his thing around that time. Certainly had some big influence.
He was like the
tremendous influence on me.
Yeah, he was like the Andy Warhol of that kind of a thing, you know, and he attracted a lot of talent. Speaking of talent, man,
right, didn't he do on ants and stuff? Because that was like another thing that I liked about him. I thought I saw a movie that he did, a little black and white short with like ants crawling around and crawling over people's heads and stuff. I even have a double neck guitar, an electric guitar that I just used on the new album, that Dali-esque thing. I'm like a Dali freak, you know?
Yeah, me too, man. And another thing, I have a syndicated radio show called Echoes of Rock and Roll and plays a few stations, one in Tahoe, Lake Tahoe. And I did this, it's a theme show where I'll say, we're going to do songs about the sun. We're going to do songs with the color orange. And today I picked the planets. And lo and behold, man, life on Mars fit right in there. And it was just, it was perfect. And I also I started with the song from Bowie, and then I was thinking, where can I find real fast? When I do my show, it's basically I'm doing it like in the moment. I have 62,000 songs, and I pick a subject, and the program I have alphabetizes the groups and the names of the songs. So if I type in Neptune, for instance, or Mars, all those songs come up, and I have that's the show I did. I was looking for a clip of Neil Armstrong saying "one step for man," and this happened I was done with the show about 4 hours ago. I recorded it and sent it off. So I'm sitting here listening to that song, to Technology or whatever the hell I was listening to there on the album, and there's the clip I was looking for, and you had it.
Yes.
So that's what I talk about a sync, man, and it was kind of neat.
Yeah, we had some awesome mine 1,000 miles away today. That's pretty cool, Gowan.
Yeah, well, you know, it comes through the music, and you know, I've interviewed so many people in this show, man, and my other shows, and over the years that it's kind of like you making the music, interviewing people, and especially musicians, because I'm one myself. It comes like naturally, you know, like when you were growing up. What was the first instrument you picked up when you were growing up, Earl?
It was actually the first instrument I sat behind, I think, was the drums, but then my friend destroyed them, and then it was the guitar from there on in.
Why did your friends what the hell did he do that for?
Oh man, we were kids, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I went upstairs to get like a drink of water or something. When I came down, the drum sticking through the snare drum head, you know, and I was like, oh man. But you know, I mean, all things happen for a reason, you know. So I wound up sticking with the guitar and the piano, and it turned out fine. Yeah,
and you do a lot of the instrumentation on these works as well. But you have a few key musicians that are pretty important to the sound of your music. You want to tell me? Who, let's give a shout out to them, man.
You know, if I say things, it's gonna, you know, obviously have some bias to it because, you know, they're the people that I work with.
Of course,
it's really the truth. It's not biased. Fernando Perdomo is based out in California, has a studio in Reseda. He truly is the most brilliant musician and engineer out there today.
I was just in Reseda, man. I was just there. I'm not far from there. So he was
really?
just, yeah, man. I'm in Sherman Oaks. So I was just
he's
down
awesome.
there. Yeah, he's very talented.
Awesome. He's happening. He just opened up for John Luke Ponte about 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah.
He's recorded with Todd Rundgren. He plays guitar and some touring stuff with Jacob Dylan.
Wow.
He's unexplainable. Actually, his talent is like, I work with the guy, and it's hard for me to comprehend his talent. It's brilliant.
Yeah,
it's brilliant. And it's great.
Yeah,
great having him.
I've been around people like that. They just blow your mind.
Yeah.
It's just like, how do they do that? It's just amazing.
One day I was sitting about maybe 4 feet away or 3 feet away from Steve Howe, the guitar player from Yes. It was just me and him.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were sitting in my office, and he had his guitar, and he was practicing, right? So he's like 3 feet away from me, right in front of me, just practicing his guitar, not playing any Yes songs or anything. So like he was just, letting his mind go.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here watching him. I'm only 3 feet away, but my mind couldn't digest it, man. It was just like so insane. The guy was so insane on guitar,
Yeah, I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, he's tremendous. And Rudy Celli, who I mentioned, sang and played cello on Technology. She's also on the song Parade. That's on that album, The Resurrection of Ants.
Yeah.
And we just started doing work on our third album now. And I got a song for her coming up called Keeper of the Dreams that I think is probably going to wind up being the showcase song on the album. She's going to be singing lead vocals and doing cello on that and backing herself up on vocals.
Yeah.
And then we have the awesome Durga McBroom on vocals on our album. She's Pink Floyd's backing vocalist. She did 3 world tours with them, and
I've probably seen her then.
Yeah, we've probably all seen. But she's got an undescribable voice. She's just absolutely incredible. And she did the lead vocals on a song called Birth on the new album, and she did the lead vocals on a song called Oblivious, and another song Why, and another song Far, which is the title cut from the first album. So we got a pretty decent lineup of folks making the music with us here in Life on Mars. Yeah,
it's very exciting. And the way that we can get it out today. And it's not like we're going down to the record store and looking for it, which is still fun. I still do that in a place in Marina Del Rey. There's a real record store there. I like flipping through them, man. So what do you think of the digital revolution in the last decade has really, even the last 20 years there's been so many things that have changed in technology, and
without a doubt.
And if you look back on even 30 years ago, I grew up in the 60s. And, I think back that far when going to Disneyland and seeing a colored TV was a big deal. Hey, man, where'd you go? What happened? Hey. Oh, yeah, we're on the air. I forgot. Hey, this is Kong, monsterrock.net, and, I call back. Life on Mars is a great, great album. I love it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, oh, there we go. Talking about technology again, right? In the middle of the interview. Okay, hey, guess what? You're one of the few people having a part 2. Hey, we're talking to Earl from Life on Mars right here on Musicians, what's the name of the show again? Musicians Corner. This is the last paid interview that I'm doing for Spearman, so I wanted to say thanks to Spearman for giving me the platform to interview in 40 countries and every single state in the Union, in little towns and islands all over the world, the musicians that I've talked to. it was a dream of mine to do it, and I'm going to keep it going. It's just going to move around somewhere, probably on one of my radio stations like I'm doing now, and occasionally we'll be on Spearman. So you, man, you're the 590th interview since last July. I want to congratulate you for being one of the best bands I've heard in a long time, man.
Thanks so much. It's an honor for me to be on, man.
Yeah, it's an honor to talk to a great musician such as yourself. You know, and we can talk about Todd Rundgren and Pink Floyd and bands like that. Who were some of the music has a lot of things inside the melodies and the lyrics that I hear, and I think of so many bands, so that I used to listen to. It brings back memories, the sound of your music. So, and what bands down the road, when you were growing up, what bands were really influencing you that you like to listen to all the time?
Sure, yeah. I mean, well, without a doubt, and I clearly remember sitting there and watching, the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. I was a young kid at the time, and I think I did the wrong the day. I punished him and watched the Beatles, but my aunt talked my mom into letting me watch the show, and so the Beatles were just like a massive influence on me. I just loved them, and
oh yeah.
Then from there I really started, getting into the British bands, and then David Bowie was just a tremendous influence on me because, and Pink Floyd, probably for the same reasons. I'm a lyric-oriented guy, and the lyrics of Pink Floyd and the lyrics from David Bowie were like always something to sink your teeth into, and I try to, write and occupy people's minds, and give them.
Hey man. I'm losing you again, Earl.
Stuff like that. Oh, man.
I'm losing you
again.
Okay, because the phone, I have an Android and it makes these beep beeps when it starts going away. So maybe move in another direction. I don't want to lose you again. Well, then if we do, we'll have a part 3, and it'll be a lot of fun like we're having now, man.
All right.
Yeah, those are the bands
so sorry.
Oh, that's cool, man. Totally cool, man. I understand exactly what's going on with technology. It's not our fault, It's just the way it is, man. But I really do like the album a lot, and I also listened to Far that you had out in 2015, and I found it very different than the other albums, the 2 Resurrection of Ants. And I heard somebody, I don't know what musician I heard say this, but it's kind of like this, man. You can't sound the same on every single album, and that's, I think so. That's a little secret to musicians, and they know that these successful ones like yourself, and moving up into the music industry, that everything you do, like how did Led Zeppelin beat the first album? I give you an example. I'll give you another example, Earl. How did Van Halen beat that fucking first album? I mean, oh my God. I was like, what was it, like 70s? I was like a kid, and I put that on, and every single song was great. And I think it was the first time that happened since Led Zeppelin's first album. And I tell you what, man, and that was the 70s. But the Beatles, like for you, of course, an influence on everybody. I mean,
sure, yeah.
You saw them.
One thing I noticed about these bands that I like and that has influenced my albums, and maybe you noticed it too.
Yeah.
Is like if you think of the Beatles, like they could get away with Blackbird, and they could get away with Helter Skelter on the same album.
I know.
Led Zeppelin could do Going to California, and they could do Heartbreaker, extremely divergent songs, you know what I mean? And that's what I try to do with Life on Mars as well.
Yeah.
Like, if you listen to the Life on Mars albums, you're going to get a good spectrum of types of music in there, you know what I mean?
I do.
It's not like, there's some great bands, like, what was Mark Knopfler's band?
Oh, shit. It's right on the tip of my tongue.
Right, me too. But you know what I mean? It was all great music.
Yeah.
But it basically, it all had that same feel and style to it. Within Life on Mars albums, you're going to get a good spectrum of music. I'm sure there's stuff in there that a lot of people would enjoy for that reason.
Okay, here we go. I'm looking them up. Dire Straits. How could we forget?
Dire Straits, right?
Yeah,
Band,
yeah, another one of the most underrated bands. Besides, I saw this special on Axis the other night, and it was about some of the most underrated bands, and Dire Straits was one of them.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. He's a wicked guitar player, and I love the band.
Yeah,
but, when you listen to Dire Straits, it all had that same, feel and style and everything to it. And I try to have more like more of a variety of different styles and types of songs, but still they all fit together as Life on Mars,
Yeah. Well, that's the fun of listening to it, because then it doesn't all sound the same. Like an Anya album. I mean, I like her. I like Anya, but,
right.
It's like, after about 3 or 4 songs, I'm probably asleep. But it's okay.
Right.
But your album, it kept me awake, and it's a good thing. So let's talk about the name of the band. I know Bowie, he did that song on The Man Who Sold the World, but is that where it came from? Was that a particular piece of music important to you musically?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. That's exactly where the name of the band came from. Exactly from that song, "Life on Mars" from Bowie. I just did my own solo version of the song actually in the studio.
Yeah.
I played all the instruments, did vocals on it, but that was definitely in homage to David Bowie. That's where the name of the band came from, "Life on Mars," and it's I'd say it's like my second favorite song in the whole world, but it might be tied first. I really dig Pink Floyd's song "Dogs" off their Animals album.
Oh,
and then Life on Mars. They're tied.
Yeah, you would have loved. I just saw Roger Waters at the Staples Center last month, and the whole second half was dedicated to the two Animals, and it was a lot of anti-Trump stuff that he put up on the screen that became very controversial. But he's Roger Waters. This is like what he does. He went to the wall in Berlin when it went down, and
that's what he's into.
And he was talking about, his views are his views. But in the middle of the stadium, the front of Animals comes alive. That electrical plant that's on the cover with the
front?
Yeah, it came alive. And it was like, it came from the floor, and it looked like they had been painted, or they were printed on very large pieces of cloth. Very special cloth, because he could project images on it, and it was huge. Like on the album, you look at the Animals album, there's more to that plant than there is. So he made that come alive in a giant stadium, in a giant arena.
Sounds awesome.
Oh my goodness! And
awesome.
and see that's the power of Pink's, like you said, the power of Pink Floyd's music, especially Animals, which he firmly says is based on George Orwell's Animal Farm. And that's where it comes from. So have you ever seen Roger Waters in concert solo?
I have actually, yep. I saw Roger Waters solo, and I saw Pink Floyd. I actually saw the Animals tour back when the Animal came out, and Roger Waters, solo was awesome.
Yeah.
I personally, I'm not personally not one that's into like mixing the music and the politics and stuff like in a live venue and stuff like that. I mean, I respect whoever does it, like Neil Young's totally, and Roger Waters, they're very political when they go out and play, like, that's their thing, and I can respect it, but I'm figuring when I go to a show, I'm really more, into the music, and I want to hear the music than the politics at that point in time, but I'm always willing to hear what they have to say,
Yeah, but it was a little much. I mean, it kept going on, and I'm going, whatever people think, it's like, dude, this is Pink Floyd music.
Yeah, let's play some music here, man,
like they had the big circle on stage. He should have stuck with that. The big circle screen, on Us and Them, and when all those people are walking in slow motion. He still had that. He still had that. Yeah. So, everybody has their opinion. I do remember that with Neil Young, and I think he stopped doing it.
Because the last time I saw him, man, that's all it was politics, and I'm like, man, I want to hear some music.
Yeah, it's too much. We hear it all over the place. I go to the concert, I want to hear Neil Young's, do After the Gold Rush.
Without a doubt.
And Cinnamon Girl. You know what? Great. One of my favorite Neil Young songs. He has a greatest hits. I think it's available now on CD and digital, called Decades. You've probably heard of it.
Sure.
Yeah, man.
No, without a doubt.
Some of the greatest music of his career are on that album, and
that's one of the greatest albums of all time.
Oh, I totally agree with you. And the pictures. Yeah. Oh, the one, it reminds me. I don't know if you've ever heard "If I Could Only Remember My Name" by David Crosby. Have you heard that album?
I don't think that I have.
Oh, dude, go online later.
But I love David Crosby.
Yeah, well, go online. It's his first solo album. He's a buddy of mine for many years. We were in AA together. He gave me my first AA cake in 27 years ago. So he's like a
god to me, man.
Listen who's on the album, though, man. So he got his brother. He got many members of the Jefferson Airplane, including Grace Slick. He got Joni Mitchell, James Taylor.
Awesome.
And a whole and maybe Jerry Garcia, Phil Lesh. I mean, you have to hear the album. And some of the songs are like "Music Is Love," "Laughter in the Rain." I mean, it's just beautiful. I think it's the best thing he's ever done, a solo. I love all his other stuff, but he did that album, and it didn't come out on CD until the late '80s. So it didn't, because nobody really had interest in it, because he kind of was always in and out of trouble. So, and then he re-released it, and I was lucky enough to have the album I had when I was in high school in the 70s. I had the same album, and he had signed it because I went down to see a guy named Jim Ladd, this DJ, and Crosby was there, and he signed the album for me. Eventually, I showed it to him and said, "Hey, let's reminisce." So I always recommend that. So that's
what I got from those. Go ahead.
You're first, man. You're the guest.
Oh, that's all right. I'm so sorry. You know what I got from those guys, Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, as far as like a musician, for any guitar players that are listening right now?
Yeah.
They do this weird tuning on their guitars. They tune every single string on their guitars to an E, except for the B string. Yeah, except for the B string.
Okay.
So they've got 5 E's and a B, and it gives the guitar this tremendous sound. And on the Resurrection of Ants album, the last song on the album, For a Reason, I used that tuning that I got from Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, that open E tuning where every string is tuned to an E except for the B string. So, and I've used that tuning throughout the years on some songs that I've written that I really like. So that was another influence on me from those guys, is how they tune in. Joni Mitchell was a master at that too. I love Joni Mitchell.
Oh,
hey, Alan, before I forget, do you mind if I give a quick shout out to some friends of mine that are listening right now out in Minnesota?
Whoever you want, man. Give them a shout out.
I want to say hi. I want to say hi to Mark and Ruby, and they're just tremendous, and I know that they're listening in right now, and so I promised them that I'd say hello to them, and I'm glad you gave me the chance. I also wanted to tell you, Alan, I had so much fun listening to your show the other day. I mean, to me, the way you do radio and the way you sound on the radio and do your thing, man, is just absolutely tremendous. And I was like, man, this guy's good, And
thank you.
I was really looking forward. Yeah, I was really looking forward to being on the show today, and that was one of the big reasons, because I really admired the way that you handled the show and the music you were playing and everything. So I was really looking forward to it today.
Yeah, because you're a guy that can talk to musicology. I've been a DJ. I'm 61, so I have been a DJ since I've been like 10, dude. At the local radio station here in the Valley. This guy let me go on the air. And another guy, speaking of the record shops, he had a little, 10-watt radio station, and I was like 10, 65. Yeah. And he had a 10-watt radio station in the back of the record store. So he let me play Elvis Presley's Hound Dog, and I was hooked from then to be on the air. I worked at, I just love it. I have a great respect for musicians, because I played clarinet and sax and flute for almost 30 years, and I was in a couple bands.
We'll get you on the next album.
Huh?
On the next album, then.
You're going to have some
on the next Life on Mars album.
Oh, yeah? You're going to put some horns?
Yeah, I'll put you on there. We got some songs we can get you
Oh
on.
man, I haven't picked up those instruments in many years. I would sound like some guy just found it on the street and decided he wanted to play it. I'd have to practice because it's been that long since I played it. So I have a great respect for musicians, and I found this out when I started looking for bands at the age of 17. And I found just to brag a little bit and pat myself on the back. Sometimes I like to tell two quick stories. One is I was in the music room at K-Rock. It was just this little tiny station, and we were also like here was the music room. It was like an apartment, and everybody was living there. It looked like it at sometimes.
Yeah.
And the music room, the stuff was piled to the ceiling. And in those days, man, in '78, there were like the reels, the little reels, Ampex, and they had the cassettes.
Sure, yeah.
And mainly cassettes, and I would go and I would grab a whole bunch of them because I was there like all the time. I had my show at night, but I fell in love with K-Rock, and I just didn't leave there for 4 years. Well, I was home a lot, but it's like the place was my second home for a long, before it turned into the rock of the '80s, and they started playing, orchestral maneuvers in the dark and Gary Newman over and over again. But that was the love of the music. I found Devo. The guitarist reminded me that I was the one that played him first. Who the fuck plays like that in Akron, Ohio? Oh, fucking A. And then I found the band, the Mystic Knights of the Oingo Boingo, and I invited Danny Elfman, who down with the band. They drove down from San Francisco to be on the show, man. And it was just, it blew up from there. And I saw such great potential in this band. I knew they'd been very much local heroes, and the brother had made a movie called The Forbidden Zone, and Danny was already writing music for cartoons and for commercials, and that's the fucking thing he was doing to make money. And so I brought him to town, and I'll tell you what, you heard of the William Morris Agency, right?
Without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah. Well, they got picked up by William Morris about 3 months after they got debuted on K-Rock, because we all went nuts. We all went crazy. We never heard anything like it. It was just they were so unique. And
without a doubt.
Yeah, man. And Danny went on to do that, and I still am very good friends with Johnny Vatos, one of the founding members, the drummer, and I see him every year at their Halloween show, and now he's got back the name Oingo Boingo. And
cool.
How did you like them when they were out there doing their stuff?
I don't have enough insight into it to really form an opinion on it. I know that I've heard it and stuff, but
yeah, you'd like it.
A lot of times, yeah. Anything that I heard from them, I don't have anything bad to say about it or anything like that. I'm sure it's great stuff, but it wasn't anything that I really focused on. And a lot of times I'm focused on my music. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Well, that's
I don't know that much about their music to really comment on it too much.
Well, yeah, we'll give it a listen, man. I think you'll like it. Yeah, well, let's go back to...
I will, and I'm going to check out... Go ahead.
Okay, let's go back to your album and the artwork, which is extraordinary.
Yeah.
So we have an eye...
So
I'll describe it to the audience, but they can go to the website, and you want to give them the one? You want to give them the website?
Well, probably the easiest thing, Facebook, because all the art is there. It's www.facebook.com/Life on Mars, the band. And all our stuff is there. Songs, videos, artwork.
Okay, so I'm looking at this thing. I guess you sent me a review of the album. Remember you sent me that?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at that, and there's a big picture of the album with the eyeball and the hand coming through the window. And there's what is that? A giant ant? Is it? Oh, the ants are invading. So what is the resurrection of the ants, Earl? I don't know. Could you give me the definition of that?
Yeah, I'll try to give you a quick insight into the naming of the album. I was telling you before about my double neck electric guitar that I have that I had customized for me in like a Dali-esque artwork on it with all these ants crawling over it and stuff.
Cool.
So really, the the Resurrection of Ants, I call that guitar Ants. It's my main guitar, and like I'll send you a picture of it, man. It's just absolutely outrageous. And the story behind that guitar was, when I got it, it was like destroyed. It was literally destroyed and unplayable and just marble. But I put a lot of love into it, man. And I like a premier instrument. There's no way you can look at that guitar and not be taken aback by it. It's an extraordinary instrument. So, the Resurrection of Ants, the title of the album, meant to me that, like, even when life's down and when things destroyed and things see, like, there's nothing you can do with it. If you put some love into it, you can really wind up tremendous. What the Resurrection of Ants meant to me, it was sort of, bringing that guitar back to life and what it is, and also how it relates to life itself. Don't give up. Put some love into it, man, and life will be good.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, and it's that's the power. Huey Lewis sending news is what I thought of. That's the power of love, and it's a driving force of musicians. Speaking of power of love, I talked to this lovely 19-year-old singer in Jerusalem, Israel, yesterday. And I'll tell you, she lifted my spirits. You should listen to the interview. It's the one right below going to be yours. And her name was Winky. Just this gorgeous, talented girl. And she, I don't know, from that area, I thought to myself, she is loving life and making music in a place where there's so much turmoil. And there she is, and she can find the beauty in it. And I thought that was a very artistic view of where she lives. Now, I know New York is very, very colorful. I've never been there. My sister lives up in upstate New York, but I've never been to New York.
Whereabouts?
Did you ever go to did you ever perform? Have you ever performed in any of the clubs in New York yet?
Oh yeah, sure. Man, I've played probably just about all of them. I mean, I just posted some old photos and stuff from playing at the bitter end. Our band's bumper stickers were still on the walls on CBGB's. I played there a number of times at CBGB's when they shut the place down. Our bumper stickers were still up on the wall.
Wow.
I played just that's in New York.
Yeah. Yep.
CBGB's was always a lot of fun, and I still have some old videos that were shot from playing at CBGB's that I take a look at every now and then because it was.
Hey, I'm losing you, man.
How is it now?
There it is. What was? I missed. It keeps on the Android. It shows me this big red bar says "call weak."
Sorry.
Oh, that's not your fault, dude. We're talking about all kinds of good shit. If it goes out, remember all of this is being archived on a recording. So everything I'm saying and we're saying is on another interface. So it's on a separate server. So this is on Spearman, what we're doing now, and what I'm recording is actually on my radio station. And we got a couple of hundred people listening, and at this time of the day, that's a little unusual. I usually have less than that. There's so much competition. Do you find that a barrier or something that you really want to go through, overcome, and you probably already have, is that there's so many bands and so many musicians, and how would you explain yourself to someone if they haven't seen or heard you to convince them to go to your site? Let's just, like you're selling yourself. What would you say to somebody?
Well, like I was telling you, in our band, we got Pink Floyd's backing vocalist. She did 3 world tours with them. She's on their albums and stuff. So, we got that kind of talent in the group. Fernando Perdomo, like I said, he's
amazing.
Yeah,
he's amazing.
He's the most brilliant artist right now. He just played with Jean-Luc Ponty.
Yeah.
He plays with Steve Hackett. He recorded with Todd Rundgren. And Israel, Rudy Cello played the girl who's in the band and does vocals and cello for us. She was from Israel too.
Oh.
So when you were talking about
there's a lot of great musicians. I've interviewed at least 15 different musicians in Tel Aviv and other parts of Israel, and they're so nice. And the girl I wanted to tell you, she went to the equivalent of a Juilliard, the Jerusalem School of Music and Dance. So she was, and she plays cello. So all of a sudden we got another connection there, and it was like that's my last interview. The girl plays cello, and then I'm hearing this, And the way I look at life is like this: it's like there are no coincidences. Everything is all predestined. Not all of it, because we have the power and the will to change our lives and be an example to future generations. Through your work, through your music and through what you say and through your words, and to pass that on to future generations, because that's what we want them to remember when we're gone, is that we were here and this was my music or this was my radio show or whatever. It's a legacy, and it's just a beautiful thing, man. I mean, look at the library that George Harrison left behind. It's amazing. Yeah.
I would tell your listeners, and I know if they're listening to your show, that they're music people and they're crazy about music and they're intelligent people. If you want intelligent lyrics and brilliant musicianship and a nice spectrum of music range, I really believe that they will like our band Life on Mars, and I hope they do check us out.
Yeah, man.
And it's like the reason that Pink Floyd has survived and been just a tremendous band all these years. A lot of the elements of what made them what they are and such a great band, they're also in Life on Mars, and it's a lyric-oriented band, and the music springs from the lyrics, and it's good stuff for music-crazy people. Life on Mars, that's how I would recommend the band, now.
Well, I am deaf in my left ear due to some childhood disease, and in my right ear I wear a hearing aid, but then I had these special headphones made, and they cost me like $300, but I had them made for the hearing impaired. So I have great joy when I'm listening to music, because when I take off the headphones and put in a regular hearing aid, you can't get the background sounds out. That technology is there, but if you want to pay $10,000 for that, they can go fuck themselves. I'd rather have headphones on listening to the resurrection of ants through these headphones. So I listen to your music so closely. I can. It's just that I have a special thing in the right part of the headphone, and I have a program called that I broadcast with that expands the sound of the MP3. There was a question put to Neil Young, and they, how he is with digital and vinyl and the different. He doesn't like MP3s. So they asked him. They said, how much of the presence of sound is there captured in an MP3? And he said 3%. So I have this. So I found this out. So I installed a program years ago that I already had in there and activated it with another piece of software that expands that sound. So the MP3 actually is opened up to sound I can get to about 67%, which is pretty good. And when it goes over the air, I try to go up to, 192, megabytes per second or higher, like a 3D, like a lot of the shows are 320. Most CDs are. So that's why
we don't work with MP3s, you know what I mean? We work with basically wave files, which are like 1,000 times better than MP3s.
Oh, yeah.
So
for sure, man.
The files on our albums aren't MP3, audio file. We got some pretty good recordings on the album.
Yeah, that's why it sounds so good, and I could hear. No, what I wanted to say, the point of that was that I could hear all the little things, all the things that were mastered in there. Now, who mastered the album? Was that you, or did you have someone do that with you?
That was Fernando,
Oh,
Fernando
wow.
Perdomo. He's just, that's why I was saying at the beginning of the show, not only is he a brilliant musician, but he's really like the best engineer out there today, too. I'll put him up there with Jeff Lynne and, all the greats. He's just tremendous behind the boards, man. There's nothing like him. He's
Wow.
just absolutely incredible.
Well, everybody can
So he's like,
yeah, so you tell him from me, hey man, you are something, and you got to come to California sometime when if you ever get out here, and then maybe play a club. But the club scene out here on Sunset, they make bands pay. I am so against.
I know. I lived
That's
in
shitty.
LA for 2 years.
Yeah,
And that's why I left.
yeah,
That's exactly why I left, man.
Yeah.
Because of that situation. And I'm sorry to hear that it's still that way. It's called pay for play, and there's no way I'm doing it.
Well, I got to tell you, man, you look on the marquee, and if you go to the show, and you know that some of these bands actually, I don't want to talk bad about any of the bands. I didn't even know who they were. Sometimes I just pop in. And I popped in, and they had bought the place. They were so bad. It was so bad, it was like, I'm half deaf already. I mean, I go, they shouldn't be playing the whiskey. It's like a band. They were kids, so it was like, and there were a lot of people there, and it was kind of like, that it was off key, and it was horrible, and they weren't ready to be on that stage yet, and that's what happened.
Do you know why they have? Why they have pay for play in California?
Why?
The reason that exists, I'll tell you why. Because with all the record companies being out there, and all the record company people, when they go out,
Yeah.
they hang out at the whiskey, and they hang out at the Rainbow.
Oh, I
so
know.
The clubs figure, man, if you want to play in front of these record company people who hang out in my venue, then you're going to pay to play here. But, there's no way on earth I'm going to do that, and that's why I left LA.
Yeah, that's horrible. And I know a lot of bands. They go to Orange County or San Bernardino, or there's a couple clubs at the beach. There's this one. The guy started this record. He has a place where you can buy musical instruments in Marina Del Rey. And he saw a building go up for lease across the street, right across the street from this place. So he opened up a vinyl shop called the Time Warp. And he went to Great Britain, and he came back with, a lot of albums. He made 2 or 3 trips to fill a small store with the most rare vinyl that you could ever see. So in the back, he put a little stage, and the bands can go back there, and then people give them tips. And I see a lot of that in the underground out here in L.A. because it's a call to arms. There's a lot of places in downtown Los Angeles and lofts where shows are being held, or in somebody's home. I have it here in my studio on Saturday nights, and a lot of people listen because they're sick of the fucking bullshit. They don't like it.
A lot of people are sick of it. Maybe I'll get out there and get back out to LA soon and play, because we're just starting now to shop the new album to record labels.
Yeah.
And we're hoping something happens. We're hoping the right person hears Life on Mars and recognizes it, you seem to recognize it, and a lot of people do. We've gotten some fairly decent airplay around the world. Probably, well, I don't know if it's fairly decent, but probably 9 Degrees or airing our new album, The Resurrection of Ants, and some record shops are carrying it now. But we're really trying to get to a record label. So if anybody out there can help us get to a record label and get a record deal, and get me back out to LA to do some gigs, that would be fantastic.
Man, with the power of
label, right?
Yes, with the power of King Kong. MonsterRock.net said in a disc jockey weird way, I will put up one of the songs on my radio station in heavy rotation right after we're done talking and playing a tune.
Thanks so much, Alan.
Which one would you want me to put up, man, on the album? What song would you like me to put up?
Let's see.
That's a hard one.
Yeah,
so many.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think, do I want to go with it, or, what do I want to play? But I think Crying Time is a pretty good song, off of that album, the Resurrection of Ants. It's a nice song.
Well, didn't I mention that at the beginning?
Yeah.
That was part of what I was telling you. It was reminiscent of the George Harrison, because I don't know what it was. It was like you were channeling him when you were in there, because it's had such substance.
It's so weird that you said that, man.
Yeah, it had
so
such.
That you said that, because that's what Fernando said was the first thing. When I sent him the song, I said, Fernando, what do you think of this one? He goes, man, this sounds like something that could have been on the All Things Must Pass album. So when you said that to me tonight, I was like, oh, man.
Well,
it's a great compliment.
It has to go from your ears to your heart, because that's the way music works. And I learned that very early in music lessons, that if you just are up here in your head, it's not going to be any good, and you won't go anywhere with it. But if you make that journey from your head to your heart, and the music is coming from there, people will listen, and it starts small these days, but things grow. Not everybody can do it, but I see it happening all the time. You can't tell me Sony stopped signing people. I mean, of course they're not.
Sony's the first record company that we sent the record to, so we're hoping to hear back from Sony,
I must be psychic or something, man.
That's crazy that you said that. I'll tell you what, Alan, not only that, it's the only record company that we...
No way! You know why? Because I was reading about what happened with them, what they'd started doing again. There was a story, and I think it was in the New York Times, it was in Associated Press, and they said that Sony was going to start pressing vinyl again. And I saw somebody on Twitter say, did they ever stop? I think they did. I think for a long time that, vinyl was like, oh my God, you got to go to the swap meet to get vinyl. It was very rare. Now I see, now you can release vinyl albums. And, I have a lot of those old colored bootlegs that they used to pass around in the 70s. I have a whole bunch of those on color. I have Jethro Tull Passion Play on red, green, and blue vinyl. And bands are doing that now. And then sometimes they don't know, the younger ones, and I pull that out and I go, no, it's not a new idea, but it is, it's something old that's new, because that's the millennial thing to say. And what?
Yeah. My record collection was full of that type of stuff, the picture vinyl and the colored vinyl. I worked for Relativity Records in Los Angeles for a couple of years when I was out in L.A. I worked for the record company out there. And I had an amazing collection, and a big bit was the stuff you were just...
I'm losing you, man. Earl, where are you?
How about now?
There you go.
I don't know. Am I back?
You're back.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Sometimes you sound like Robert De Niro. Did anybody ever tell you that?
No.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's funny. I think somebody told me I looked like him once, but never that I sounded like
over the phone I've been going, hey, there's the inflections. I'm, like I said, I have special headphones. I hear things nobody else can hear. It's like, wow, man, this is great. I just love listening to your music, man. I think it's really good, and I wish you a lot of luck, and we'll talk again. The name of the album is called The Resurrection of Ants and Life on Mars. So you got to stay on the app for me to get the song on there, and then it's also going out on the air, and then I'll click out at the end of the song, but I'll still be on the air talking, and then I'll end that, and I'll send that to your email. Put your email in the messenger, and I'll send you a copy of the whole show. I started it at 10 of the hour. 2 hour. Let's see, at 10 of the hour almost. Let's see, it's 5 after the hour now. It's 5 after 9 over there, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I started at about 7:45, something like that. So I put a lot of music you'll really like. Some of the stuff I thought influenced you in the show, because I have a very. It sounds like you have a very eclectic taste, and I really do too. I was told. One of my favorite bands growing up was the Velvet Underground and Iggy Pop and the Stooges. And Iggy Pop and the Stooges, and that song, I used to play that song on the radio alongside Fear and the Dead Kennedys and Adolescence when I was on K-Rock, and it was from 1969, and here I was in 1979 playing these new bands who say they were influenced by Iggy Pop. So I'm just saying, I wanted to mention his name because I think...
saw Iggy Pop live Live at Radio City, I saw Iggy Pop and the Ramones, man.
Oh my, together?
Yeah.
Oh my
Awesome.
God, that's like the dream show. Wow.
Had a dream, man. Any shows at Radio City are awesome. So to see those two bands together was a memorable concert for me.
Yeah, I've seen them separately, and then all the L.A. bands like the Dead Kennedys and Fear and the Minutemen. I love them. They were just unbelievable. One of the guys, I think the guy he passed away, the lead singer, and there was Bad Religion. And all the other bands that spawned, like Black Flag and the Circle Jerks, they're one of my favorites.
Those are all the bands that we used to distribute at the record company I worked at, Circle Jerks.
Wow! So thank you for turning all of us onto that music, because, that era of the 20th century, when we're looking way back, was such a renaissance and such an uprising in the sound of the way music was being played and being performed.
Oh, yeah, it was interesting stuff.
Yeah, it was a revolution, man. I was right in the middle of it at this radio station. I met the Ramones and Black Flag. I was meeting all of them, and nobody knew who they were yet. It was like, like there was a station. You remember KMET, right? They wouldn't have touched the Ramones, but now you see them on a car commercial. That's okay.
Yeah.
I get the estate.
Yeah.
Everybody has to make a buck, and I think one of the first bands that made a lot of money doing TV stuff was The Who. Remember, they came out. They were on everything, all the CSIs and all these commercials. Hey, man, if you get one, I hope your album gets a lot of people to listen to it. But I want to play this song off the album. It's been a pleasure talking to you, man.
You too, Alan. It was great fun, man. I was really looking forward to it, and you do a tremendous job. I love your show, man.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to play For a Reason off the album. And tell them once again, before I put it up to the music over here, the name of the album and where they can download it.
The name of the album is The Resurrection of Ants. The name of the band is Life on Mars. And you can get a copy of the album downloaded on our Bandcamp page. It's www.lifeonmarsband.bandcamp.com.
Yeah, just type in their name. They'll never remember that. Just type in the name, Life on Mars, like I did. I went right to Bandcamp, and I have it up in front of me, and you will find them. Because some people are on drugs, man, and they won't remember.
Yeah, Life on Mars.
Life on Mars.
Life on Mars, the band.
Yeah, the band.
Right? Life on Mars, the band. Bandcamp.com.
That's so easy.
Check us out.
Yeah, check them out, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm gonna move a couple of things around, and I'm gonna play this song on Musician's Corner today, and it's off the album The Resurrection of Ants. I'm gonna.
In quicksand, and I cannot reach them. Children with knowledge that no one should teach them. Slain on the altar for no rhyme or reason. Lies youth with its heart wide open and bleeding. And life goes on. Life goes on. Life goes on through the birth and the death and the madness. Life goes on through the wicked brutality of sadness. Through the miserable failed attempts to end it. An atrocity that has God in tears and offended. Life goes on for a reason. For a reason. There are voices crying goes on through the withering display of heartless. Life goes on through the light and the strangling darkness. Through the joy and the pain and the meetings in progress. Through the days when we're tangled in time and in nonsense. Life goes on for a reason. For a reason. I smiled inside and I said, "Do you know me?" You laughed and you thought that you might as well love me. I am yours for a reason. You are mine for a reason. For a reason. For a reason.
You're listening to Buddha Man.